Hello, welcome back to my channel. What we're doing is working through the Resilient Learner's Backpack book, and I am reading it for you. And we are in step 1. If you haven't already watched the video, the introduction and the Resilient Humans section, it's a good idea for you to go back and do that. Check out each of these videos and then come back. If you're listening in the car, then this is the audio version of step 1 or chapter 1. And if you are watching this video, I've animated it to try to bring it alive for you so it's not quite so dull. At the end of step 1 will be activities. If you're on my newsletter, you get a newsletter from me every Friday at 10:15. In that newsletter, we'll have this audio recording and also the activities we're working on for the week. So this week we'll be working on 4 activities from the book. And then each Friday, we will work on another activity, culminating the last Wednesday of every month. We will have a live Zoom meeting where we will gather for Q&A, for discussions around everything that we tried out this month. So step 1 is befriending your nervous system, and I will get started reading it. Let's begin. The 7 steps to packing your Resilient Learner's Backpack. Step 1, befriend your nervous system. Step 2, increase signals of safety and connection. Step 3, identify regulating resources. Step 4, retune the nervous system. Step 5, expand nervous system flexibility. Step 6, reduce cognitive load. And step 7, engage the divided brain. Step 1, befriend your nervous system. There's a new syndrome that pertains to those of us in the education and helping professions. Parenting tends to bring it on as well. The syndrome is appropriately named to describe the characteristics of those who earn the diagnosis human giver syndrome. The human giver syndrome is the tendency to give to others until one is emotionally exhausted, depleted of empathy or compassion, and feeling like nothing you do makes a difference. Think of Shel Silverstein's classic book, The Giving Tree. The tree gave away every inch of itself until there was nothing left but a stump. Silverstein's tree had a severe case of the giver syndrome. People with human giver syndrome tend to be critical of themselves when they don't accomplish enough or fail to meet the needs of others. I began observing my nervous system states throughout the day, during teaching, parenting my daughter, or interacting with friends. Through the process of befriending, I slowly loosened the ties that kept me bound to the human giver syndrome. I started listening to my nervous system, a confidant that constantly sends me information about my well-being. Befriending your nervous system is like nurturing any blossoming relationship. It takes time, patience, and curiosity to get to know someone. You ask a lot of questions, find common interests, and discover things you like to do together that bring laughter, joy, and fun into your lives. As you complete the activities in this book, you'll have developed a relationship with your nervous system that feels like finding a new best friend. Your friend within is steadfast, eager to keep you safe, and helps you make good choices for yourself, if you're inclined to listen. Before asking students to befriend their nervous systems, start with a good dose of hearty befriending for yourself. Your students learn how to befriend their own nervous systems by observing you model the process. Using visual supports for each of the nervous system states increases the odds of remembering the specific scientific terms used for the ANS states. For ventral vagal, imagine a one-way vent inside a heart that allows you to send and receive benevolent, hopeful, and encouraging energy to and from others. Contrary to the name of the state, sympathetic, neither fight nor flight responses allow you to be sympathetic to others, so this term can be confusing. Think of it another way. Your body is responding with sympathy for what you're experiencing, and in doing so activates a response of protection to keep you safe from perceived danger. Visualize a shield and remember the phrase, sympathetic to my plight, my body responds with fight or flight. In a protective state, your body is sympathetic to your plight and not necessarily sympathetic to the plight of others. For dorsal vagal, imagine someone curled in a protective collapsed position behind a door that is closing to keep out the world and all its perceived danger. Remember that a dorsal vagal response is like closing the door to the world because it feels so physically or emotionally unsafe to be in it. There are also blended states. Let's hold that discussion until later. At this point in your polyvagal journey, it's excellent progress moving forward to solidly know the three main states and begin observing these states in yourself, your family members, others around you, and your students. While reading books or watching shows, notice actors as they move in and out of different ANS states. It's quite interesting to observe. Tell me your state before you tell me your story. How we view the world changes when we are in different nervous system states. The ANS quadrant provides examples of words, views, or perspectives that may align with the different nervous system states. Ask staff and students to name their state before telling their story. The story will change exponentially depending on their state while telling their story. Ventral vagal. I'm safe, I enjoy connection to others, I'm supported, I can see options, I feel like I belong, I'm able to handle daily challenges. Sympathetic fight. I feel unsupported, people are not my friends, the world is against me, I'm feeling threatened, I'm needing to stand my ground, I have a lot of disorganized energy. Sympathetic flight. I'm feeling unsafe, I need to get away, the world is a dangerous place, I'm afraid to take risks, I have excess energy, I need to move. Dorsal vagal. I feel invisible, I'm lonely and sad, nothing I do matters, so why try? The world is too scary to be in it, I feel overwhelmed, I want to hide and be left alone. The learning path and metaphorical backpack. Imagine that the learning process is like walking or hiking along a path where you're either heading toward your goals, away from your goals, or stuck somewhere in the middle. While on the path, you're carrying a metaphorical backpack filled with tools that help you focus, regulate, and become more resilient and adaptable. With your equipped backpack, you're ready for unexpected storms or obstacles that block your path and keep you from moving forward. We'll be using the learning path and backpack metaphor for many of the tools and activities coming up. There are 4 learners on this path. The figure farthest down the path represents the learner moving toward goals. This learner is in a ventral vagal state, ready to learn, and knows how to access regulating resources when needed to stay focused and overcome challenges. The learner is not only a problem solver, but also a problem identifier, an important aspect of being resilient. The learner with hands on hips is in a sympathetic state of fight. The learner in the running position on the path exhibits disorganized mobilization, excess energy, and focusing difficulties. The tree lying across the path signifies obstacles in the way of growth and success. Learners need to be taught skills to help them negotiate the obstacles. These learners are not ready to learn yet. Their backpacks are off their shoulders and in a disorganized state on the path, much like their nervous systems. They need specific strategies designed to help shift from a sympathetic state into a ventral learning state that include movement to organize their mind-body systems and use the excess energy to shift into a ventral vagal state. These learners may also hold excess stress and energy inside themselves and not exhibit a lot of external restlessness. They have bottled up their anxiety toward learning and still need to find ways to organize the internal disorganized energy. Students in a dorsal vagal state cannot learn effectively and are at the beginning of the learning path. They may show obvious signs of shutdown and aren't wearing their backpacks. It may be empty or have limited resources tucked inside. These learners lack the energy to attempt to put on their backpack and take a step forward on the path. Resilient learners are able to move in and out of ANS states and return to a ventral vagal state to overcome obstacles, discover solutions to challenges, and maintain optimism toward their ability to learn. It's important to remember that the path is fluid and that learners may be anywhere on the path between dorsal vagal and sympathetic, or sympathetic and ventral vagal. The states, like the path, are on a continuum. Learners in ventral vagal are described as ventral learners. They feel safe to take risks, explore options, and learn enthusiastically. They're steady, confident, eager, and motivated. Knowing where to find resources when stuck is the key to their success. They are proactive learners and not afraid to fail, viewing failure as a learning opportunity. Learners in a sympathetic state are often frustrated, angry, stressed, or disorganized. They have a lot of mobilization, but it isn't directed toward meeting goals. They react rather than think ahead and determine a game plan. Learners in a sympathetic state may avoid failure at the risk of appearing incapable and cover up their inadequacies to appear more put together than they actually feel inside. Learners in dorsal vagal have all but given up and feel helpless, hopeless, disengaged, lacking energy to move forward toward goals. They are immobilized and benefit from movement that provide a gentle way to move toward ventral vagal. The learning path. ANS states and learning readiness explanation for learners. Ventral vagal, ready to learn. Safe, connected, eager, curious, motivated, creative, hopeful, and adaptable. On the learning path, moving toward goals. Sympathetic, not ready to learn yet. Threatened, frustrated, angry, inflexible, mobilized, anxious, worried, uncertain, in the middle of the learning path. Dorsal vagal, unable to learn easily. Sad, tired, shut down, unsafe, alone, quiet quitting, unseen, disconnected. On the learning path, but not moving toward goals. Some students in dorsal vagal can appear focused. They know how to play the game. But they're not engaged and give up easily. They lack the cognitive energy required for deep, long-term learning, as evidenced by incomplete or missing work, resulting in poor test scores and grades. The key for students in sympathetic and dorsal vagal states is to move along the learning path without getting stuck too long in those states. Observing students' nervous system states and teaching them how to observe their own states is the first step toward creating environments where students are engaged, motivated, and fully exploring their learning paths. It's important to understand that a learner can be mad, sad, or anxious as examples and remain in ventral. The learner could be feeling those emotions and still be able to problem solve and move forward without moving down the path into mobilized sympathetic or dorsal vagal shutdown. When experiencing challenges, you'll notice a pattern of initial responses to signals of danger. Deb Jana uses the phrase, "you're home away from home." I like to think of it as my go-to place within, that familiar nervous system state where I feel most comfortable when life gets tough. For some people, their default mode may be the sympathetic state of fight or flight, leaning more toward mobilization. For others, it may be dorsal vagal collapse or shutdown with less energy and reduced mobilization. You probably have phrases that come to mind, such as, "I'm done," or "whatever." Those phrases are usually accompanied by hand gestures like tossing your hands up in the air or holding an arm out to keep people at bay. When you practice observing your states, you'll begin to see a pattern of where your nervous system tends to be most comfortable during difficult situations. Take a moment to think about your go-to place within. You'll also notice your students' default modes or familiar states when they're challenged in the classroom or clinic. The tools and activities in Step 1 serve to familiarize you with using the path metaphor as the first step in the befriending process. You, your staff, and your students are beginning the exciting journey of becoming active operators of your nervous system. You're learning to speak the language of the nervous system and begin the rewarding process of creating a befriending learning environment, home, and community. Step 1, befriending benefits. Number 1, you have a judgment-free friend who supports you from within and always has your back and your heart. Number 2, your staff becomes in tune with one another's nervous systems and realizes the importance of the befriending process for reducing burnout and increasing joy. Number 3, your students receive a lifelong, incredible skill of befriending their nervous system so they're prepared and able to face the challenges ahead. Number 4, the befriending process fits seamlessly into your day. No time-consuming curriculum or prep to add to your already filled schedule. And number 5, there's a common denominator between you, your staff, and students, your responsive nervous system that brings some amount of predictability to an unpredictable world. Step 1, backpack essentials. Befriend your nervous system, the one thing. Listen to and honor your own bodily states and be aware of the bodily states of your students. Stephen W. Porges, author of Polyvagal Safety, Attachment, Communication, Self-Regulation. Step 1, objectives. Learn the ANS states, understand how to monitor states, and implement learning path activities for greater independence. Backpack Essential 1, Learning Path Tool. Backpack Essential 2, Parent or Guardian Letter Tool. Backpack Essential 3, ANS Observation Tool. Backpack Essential 4, Example of ANS Observation Tool. Backpack Essential 5, My ANS States, Thoughts, and Words Activity. Backpack Essential 6, Example of My ANS States, Thoughts, and Words Activity. Backpack Essential 7, Name Your ANS States Activity. Backpack Essential 8, Example of Name Your ANS States Activity. Backpack Essential 9, Observing Events Activity. Backpack Essential 10, Example of Observing Events Activity. Backpack Essential 11, Observing My ANS States Activity. And Backpack Essential 12, Example of Observing My ANS States Activity. I want to make a point to let you know that in the back of the book, starting on page 171, you have modifications for TK3 developmental levels. So many of the activities you find that have the people version are also available in this book toward the back, and also in the Resilient Learners Workbook. So that's a separate workbook I put together that has the animal versions for the younger kiddos. So that's also here. And you can get this one on Amazon as well. So these are my animal puppets. So for the younger ones, I have Rabbit for Vago for Ready Rabbit. For sympathetic, I have this cute little raccoon who, you know, raccoons, they kind of like to fight and then flee. And then we also have the turtle. And this turtle can pull his head in, representing shut down, collapse, wanting to disappear, in the dorsal vagal state. So puppets are a great way to teach these states to younger children. And also, I find the adults like them almost as much, if not more, than the kids. So when I do workshops, I'll say, well, what state are you in? And they'll say, ready rabbit, or they'll say, restless raccoon, or they'll say, tender turtle. So it seems to stick a little bit easier than ventral vagal, sympathetic, and dorsal vagals. Do what works for you. As the kids say, do you. So, yeah, so do what works for you. I hope you'll join me for the book club, and if you want to be in the loop, just sign up for my newsletter at schoolmoose.com. You'll get a newsletter every Friday, 10:15, without fail, and it will have videos like this one and the example of the activities. Now, you do need to purchase the book to get the activities, so if you don't have the book yet, I'd encourage you to go buy it, because it's going to help you have a great school year. We are going to have a ton of fun working through this book together. You may find that by the end of the book, you've changed. There's been some transformation. I know that's been the case for me, just in writing the book and practicing what I preach. Thank you for being with me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, because it really does help the algorithm and helps get this work out into the world where it really needs to be during these turbulent times.